Welcome viewers, my name is Patrick Luck with StoneSoupProgramming.com, and today I am going to show you how to hit a REST service using the Node request package and OpenMovie database to keep it interesting. So we're going to begin by creating a Node.js Express app. You can either do this through IntelliJ or you can follow the guideline here at this Express.js.com to do it from the command line. So we're just going to hit next. My RESTful Node. So we're just going to name the project, and then we're going to set the template engine to Handlebars. You are free to use other ones, but this is the one we're going to use in this example. And you just click Finish, and allow IntelliJ to generate a project skeleton for you. So at this point, we now have a project skeleton. And the very first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to install the request package. So we can just use npm to hit the package manager and then install request. And you'll see it install. And that's all we have to do there. Now the very first thing that we're going to want to do is we need an API key to work with OpenMovie database. And that's really easy to get. So you're just going to want to do a search for OMDB. And this link right here, omdbapi.com. And then if you go to this Patrons tab and do API key, and then just enter your email, and they will email you a secret API key that you can use. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a JavaScript file that's going to hold that API key for us. And it's only going to have one line of code in it. And your API key goes in there. So this is your API key that you're going to get when you email to it. Now the reason we use this pattern is this API key is a lot like a password. We want to keep it secret. So if you use a keys.js file, you can add it to get.ignore. And then you don't need to worry about your passwords getting pushed up to a source code repository. So I'm going to go ahead and enter mine real quick off screen, and then we can move on with the tutorial here. Now the next thing we want to do is work on our index.js file, and this is going to have our server code. So let's begin first by pulling in our request library, and we can do it just like this. And then we need our keys, and we're going to use that keys.js file that we just made, and we can just grab the OMDB API variable right off it. And then we just need a movie object that's going to hold our results. It already generates the GET request for us. So we just need to update that a little bit to pass back our movie object. That's all we have to do there. Most of our work is going to be in the post. So router.post, and it takes a callback function, request response. So that's all we have to do there. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get the name of the movie from the form. So we're going to use request.body.query, and this is going to be a text box on our form later on. Next thing we want to do is we want to build a URL variable that hits the REST service. Now you'll notice that in the URL string we have an API key param. That's our key that we got from our email. This T for title, and that's going to be the title of a movie. We have this plot, which is short for short plot, and then JSON, which tells it to send back JSON. Now, we want to clear out our movie object, and then just fire a request over to OMDB. So we just pass it to URL, and then a callback function with error, response, and body. Of course, you are free to name these any way you wish, but I find this to be the most readable. Just like that. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we got back HTTP OK from the REST service. So we're going to check response.status code 200. 200 is the standard HTTP code for OK. And then we want to convert the body to JSON, because body comes back as a string. So we can use json.parse, and now it's going to be a JSON object. We should check if the JSON has an error in it. So we can just check for the error property. If it does have an error, movie is json.error. Otherwise, movie can be equal to, and we're just going to create a JavaScript object here, json.title. If you're wondering the properties of the JSON, just look at the documentation, or just use your URL here and put it in some web browser, and the browser should render some JSON for you to look at, so that way you know what's coming back. Let's get IMDb, which comes from ratings, and that's an array value. Rotten Tomatoes, which comes from 1.value. Country, plot, and actors. And always check the capitalization here, because that would have been an error. And that's all we have to do there. Now, we did set up an if condition for 200. We should probably handle it if we get some code back other than 200. Let's say 403 or something for forbidden. And in which case, we're just going to make movie look like that. Then finally, we can render the index page. And once again, we're going to pass our JavaScript object here. And that's all we need to do for the server. Now, for the view pages, I like to use Twitter Bootstrap. So I'm just going to include jQuery and Bootstrap on the layout here. That way every page in this project gets these libraries. And then we're going to go over to the index, because that's what we actually are interested in. Let's begin. We're just going to put a nice header on it. And that's all we need to do there. Now we just need to make a form. If you have the Bootstrap plugin in IntelliJ, it's more than happy to make a form for you. And you just fill out the values. Now, it's very important that we name our text box properly. And I will show you why that is in a second here. It's this name attribute that I just filled out that corresponds to the body variable that we get on the server side. So if you look here, name equals query, and if you look back at the index.js, you'll notice that on line 14 here, query is request.body.query. So this query matches our name query attribute on this form. So that's very important to keep in mind. Now we just need some conditional rendering here. So first, let's handle if there's an error. And we can use some handlebars markup for that. If we have an error, we're just going to write out the whatever's in the error. We're not particularly interested. Now let's do if we have a valid. And there we go. And all we're going to do is make a pretty little table to display this information in. Sorry about that. Boom, just like that. And we're just going to populate this table with our information. So title, notice that this movie.title is the same property that we have in this movie object here, so they all need to match. And we can split our IDE to make that a little easier to read. So there's movie.title. Now let's do the year. And that's movie.year. We'll do the IMDb next. IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes. And then we will do country. Plot. And actors. And that should be everything we need to do for the view here. Now, if you're like me, I like the browser to start right away when my application's launched, so I'm just going to go into the Run Configurations and just tell it to launch Chrome. And now we're going to fire it up and we're going to see how this goes. So here's our page. I'm going to put in Serenity, submit. Okay, and here's a case I must have typed something wrong here. So let's see if we can find out what the issue is. Index.js, line 15. And the reason is I misspelled key. I had it as keys. So let's bounce our server and try again. And now it should work. And there you go. And there's the information for the Firefly movie Serenity. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment on the YouTube video or at my blog, stonesoupprogramming.com, where you can also get a text version of this exact same tutorial. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy coding. Thank you.